this is it. This is the end game. The Vancouver Canucks are playing a hockey game against the St. Louis Blues tomorrow. And this game is going to be the most important game of the Vancouver Canucks season. I know we said that last time about the Calgary game and how Vancouver was able to come out of that one with a point in overtime and then the inevitable shootout winner point too. But this game, tomorrow against the Blues, this is going to be even more important than that gosh darn Calgary game. Because if you take a look at the Vancouver Canucks playoff odds heading into this game, Vancouver is slightly underneath St. Louis. They have a 34.7% chance at making the dance. The Blues have a 44.4% chance. Now, chances be damned, the Vancouver Canucks are in the current second wildcard spot at the moment. St. Louis is tied with Vancouver with one more game played. Same amount of regulation wins, by the way, too, so the tiebreaker is equal, but Vancouver with fewer games is automatically placed in front as of right now. If Vancouver defeats St. Louis in regulation, their playoff odds bump up to 50.2%. It becomes a coin flip at that time. If the Canucks lose to St. Louis in regulation, their playoff odds drop to 23.5%, an 11.2% decrease. Meanwhile, the same thing could be said for the St. Louis Blues. If St. Louis beats Vancouver in regulation, their playoff odds bump up to 55.3%. If they lose to Vancouver in regulation, their odds go down to 28.1%. So Vancouver already is in a less favorable spot in the Money Puck model than St. Louis. Even though they have one fewer game played and they have the same amount of points, the model just puts St. Louis in a much higher echelon in comparison. So Vancouver has more to lose if they lose, and they have more to gain if they win. It's a pretty big statistical breakdown here on the Money Puck website, but this game essentially is going to make or break the season. If the game goes to overtime, the thing can roughly equal itself out. If Vancouver wins in overtime, then their odds go up to 44.3%. It's still a near 10% increase. Meanwhile, St. Louis, if they lose in overtime, their odds only go down by 8% to making the playoffs. So it's not really that impactful. Same thing could be said if Vancouver loses to St. Louis in the overtime period. They only go down 3.2%. It's not that big of a change. However, with points up for grabs, with final wildcard spots up for grabs, Vancouver is not only competing with St. Louis, they're also competing with the Flames and the Utah Hockey Club. This definitely is not easy. So for the Vancouver Canucks, this is the endgame here. And I feel very happy because for once I can finally use that Paul Atreides Quinn Hughes Dune image that we had made. I wanted to use it for a thumbnail, had not had the right opportunity to do so until now, and it's like, yeah, I know. I get that Dune is not an Avengers thing, and we have the Elias Pettersson Captain America photo also in the thumbnail here, although you can't really make it out because the shield isn't visible in the way that the image is framed, but believe me, it's there. There are a lot of things that we can talk about heading into this final showdown, this endgame matchup for the Vancouver Canucks, from the way that some of their top guys have been playing to the way that we expect them to continue playing. Quinn Hughes was not necessarily the biggest impact player against the Winnipeg Jets yesterday, which is kind of interesting to say because we know that he has been pretty much the straw that stirs the drink that is the Vancouver Canucks hockey team all season. Yesterday, I'd say, play was carried by a number of guys. Pius Suter with 2 goals, Brock Boeser with 3 points, Pettersson, Hoglander also complimenting Boeser on that top line so well. I feel kind of vindicated in a way. The fact that Brock Boeser was able to shut up all the haters, including me, by showing up and finally scoring his first goal in over a month yesterday, following it up with a second goal and a beautiful assist on the Höglander goal. Vancouver hockey is clicking at the right time. And ultimately, if Boeser and Pettersson are able to reawaken what it was they were able to do last season, even without JT Miller, you assume Quinn Hughes is going to be able to keep on carrying because he's been doing that all season. There is no reason to believe the contrary here. When you think about what Brock Boeser, Pettersson, and Hughes are all capable of together, this is just a big throwback. This is John Shorthouse's Enjoy the Future, folks commentary moment from Quinn Hughes' first NHL game back in 2019. This is reminiscent of that moment. And now in 2025, 6 years after that debut game, we are seeing the future. At least, we hope so, right? Because last year, Pettersson, Boeser, Hughes, and Miller were all fantastic. Miller's gone now, Demko is hurt, and Boeser is barely showing off that he is still worth significant money in the offseason right now. So we'll see whether or not Vancouver can take it to a St. Louis Blues team that has been very hot as of late too. I have Dylan Holloway on all 8 of my fantasy teams this year. Yeah, he's, I think, the only guy that exists on all of my fantasy teams. So he's been legendary, especially as of late with all the points that he's been able to produce. Brayden Schenn just celebrated his 1,000th NHL game, so vibes are good in St. Louis right now. They have been on a 3-game winning streak. So this is going to be a tough assignment here. I don't want to say that anything is guaranteed, but we will just say that the wins and losses in this game will do so much for the Vancouver Canucks, statistically speaking. And if they want to have a chance to stay alive, they got to at least get this game to overtime. Preferably win in regulation, but they got to get this game going. It's odd, man. Against Winnipeg, they played some of the best hockey we have seen all year. I think common consensus for Canucks fans was that the best game for Vancouver this season was the road trip game against LA. You also had that Florida win in there earlier on in the year, but like, that game against Winnipeg, against the best goalie in the world, Connor Hellebuck, dropping a 3-stack on him in the first period and then winning 6-2. I mean, what do you even say? Are the Canucks back? Are the Canucks capable of playing like that for the rest of the season and maybe into the playoffs? Is it possible? Can we see the same thing against St. Louis? I don't know. Time will tell. But for now, we are heading into the end game, folks, with Quinn Hughes, Pettersson, Boeser, and everybody else in there. We could toss in the Brock Boeser Goku picture into the thumbnail here, too. Do we want to do that? No, it wouldn't really fit with the theme and the visual composition of the image. So we'll leave you all with this. Tomorrow's game is a big one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The Vancouver Canucks are in the end game now. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.